Good morning, Year 6. I hope you're all good, or hope you're all safe and well. Today is the 16th of June 2020. We're continuing our unit on statistics this week, and today you're going to be looking at how to construct a pie chart, so how to draw a pie chart. So, without further ado, I'd like you to write down today's date, the date in Roman numerals, thinking about what you know and how you can write that down, and writing down our learning intention. For today's lesson, you will need a pencil, paper, your thinking hats on. You'll need the class pie charts worksheet, which was emailed to you this morning, which you can also find on the school website. You'll need a 5-minute timer, and you'll also, for today's lesson, need a protractor. So if you need to pause the video here and go and get those things, please do, and then we will begin. So for our starter today, we're going to be matching the percentage to the fraction. So you'll see on the left we've got 25%, 10%, 5% and 30%. You need to match that to the equivalent fraction. Okay, so we know that 25% means the same as 25 over 100. 10% could be written as 10 over 100, 5% 5 over 100, 30% 30 over 100. But none of our fractions have a denominator of 100. So you're going to think about those fractions that I've mentioned. If the denominator was 100, simplify it, which one of these would they match up with? Once you've done that, if you wanted more games like this, you can always go to mathsplayground.com and then go to matching fractions and percentages, and then you'll find this task. Or you can just copy the link which is shown on the right hand side of the screen. So I'd like you to pause the video here and match up the percentages to the fractions. Brilliant. And let's go through our answers. So 25% is the same as 1/4. 25 over 100 can be simplified because they both numbers have a highest common factor of 25. 10% is the same as 1/10. 10 over 100 can be simplified to 1 over 10. 5% is the same as 1 over 20. So they both have a highest common factor of 5 if you do 5 over 100. And 30% can be simplified to 3/10. Okay, so well done if you managed to get all of those. So we're going to have a go using the words shown on screen. We've got the word degrees, full, and turn. And I want you to think about which of those words can be used to complete the sentences. So the first sentence, an angle measures a what? Angles are measured in what? And a circle is a what turn? So an angle measures a turn. Okay, so an angle measures a turn in a line, a change in direction. Okay, so angles measure a turn. Angles are measured in degrees. A circle is a full turn. So just make sure you've got those written down correctly, because that's going to help us a lot as we're looking at pie charts today. So on the screen there, you'll see an example of an angle. So I'm about to put some more sentences on screen, and I'd like you to think about how you could use, what word or what number might be missing in order to help us complete these sentences. There are degrees in a full turn. What could the missing word there be? How many degrees are there in a full turn? There are 360 degrees in a full turn. That's 360 degrees all the way around our circle. We can split a full turn into angles and measure the amount of turn in each angle. This full turn shown on screen has been split into 4 equal angles. How many degrees are there in each of the 4 angles? So remember, all of it together is 360 degrees. So how many degrees in each of the 4 angles? What would you need to do with the 360? Pause the video here and write it down. Excellent. So each angle measures 90 degrees because you take your 360 and you divide it by 4. Then you can do the inverse to check that's correct. So 4 times 90 degrees equals 360. And we know that 90 degrees is the same as a right angle. So one full turn, as we talked about, always measures 360 degrees. What does it measure? Excellent. The angles in a full turn must always add up to 360. So print that number in your mind because you're going to need to refer to it. Now I'd like you to use your knowledge of angles in a full turn to work out the missing angle in each full turn below. So we can see on the first one we've got 120 degrees is shown, 100 degrees is shown, but there's 2 angles missing. Surely, well, no, there isn't. We know that whenever we see a square in an angle, that tells us that it is a right angle. And if it's a right angle, then it measures 90 degrees. So, using that information to help you, work out the missing angle in each of the full turns below. Make sure you pause the video here whilst you write down your answers. So for the first one, we've got 100 degrees plus 120 degrees plus 90 degrees, which gives us 310. But we know that there's 360 degrees in a full circle. So 360 degrees minus 310 equals 50 degrees. Now let's move on to the second one. We were given the angles 52 degrees and 90 degrees. 52 plus 90 equals 142 degrees. 360 degrees minus 142 degrees equals 218. And for the last one, we were given the angles 19 degrees and 45 degrees. If we take those amounts away from 360 degrees, we're left with 296 degrees. You can also look at your angles to see whether they look like logical answers. So you would have learnt about obtuse angles and acute angles and reflex angles. We can see in the last one that that's going to be a reflex angle because it's greater than 180 degrees, which is a line. Okay, it's more than half. So we know it's a reflex angle. We can see with the second one, we can also see that the missing angle would also be a reflex angle. So we know it's going to be greater than 180 degrees but less than 270 degrees. And for the last one, we can see that that's going to be an acute angle. So always using your logic and your method hat. So the children in class 6 voted on which animal they would like as their class pet. This table shows the number of votes for each animal. So you can see that guinea pig was the most popular and fish was the least popular. Which animal received the fewest votes? So we know that was the fish. So there are 36 votes in total. So the whole pie chart needs to represent 36. As we know, a full turn is 360 degrees. So we know that each vote is worth 10 degrees on a pie chart. Can we explain how we know this? Well, we know this because 360 divided by 36 would give us 10, or the inverse of 10 times 36 equals 360. Therefore, each of the 36 votes is worth 10 degrees on the chart. Now that we know that one vote is worth 10 degrees, we can convert the raw data into degrees, ready to draw the data onto our pie chart. We can do this by multiplying the number of votes for each animal by 10. So I'd like you to pause the video here, look at the number of votes, and then you need to multiply each of those number of votes by 10 to convert it into degrees. Pause the video here and write that down. Excellent. So 4 times 10 is the same as 40 degrees. Rabbit will be represented with 100 degrees. The budgie will be represented with 70 degrees. The guinea pig with 120 degrees. The fish with 30 degrees. And the total, when we add those all up, should be 360 degrees. We can now take this data and draw it onto a pie chart. We will start off by using a pie chart that has been split into 36 angles of 10 degrees each. Okay, so making sure that, in fact, for this part, it might be best just to have a look at what we've got displayed on screen, because you'll be doing a task quite similar on your sheets that was sent to you this morning. So this is our pie chart, and it's been split into 36 angles, each angle measuring 10 degrees. So then we need to put our information, our raw data, onto our pie chart. If each segment is worth 10, how many segments would we shade to represent the votes for a hamster? That's right, we need to shade 4 segments, because a hamster will be represented with 40 degrees. Then we do the same with the rabbit. We need to shade 10 segments so that 10 degrees has been shaded. How many would I need to shade for the budgie? That's right, I'd need to shade 7 segments, because that's equal to 70 degrees. And I'll do the same for the guinea pig and the fish. To finish the pie chart, we need to give it a title, so that anyone that looks at it knows exactly what this pie chart represents. What title would you suggest? We also need to create a key to show what each segment represents. You can see we've done that on the right hand side. So we've shown that the part shaded in red represents the hamster, the part shaded in green represents the rabbit, the blue, the budgie, the yellow, the guinea pig, and the purple, the fish. So here's our title. Maybe you might be able to think of one that's much more appropriate. If not, this one works perfectly fine, as it tells the person reading exactly what this pie chart shows. We have looked at representing data on a pie chart with segments of 10 degrees. Now let's look at how to draw a pie chart on a blank circle. We begin by drawing a line from the top edge of the circle to the centre. This is known as the radius of the circle. So from the centre to the outer line is the radius. It might be a good idea to just write that down. Then we use a protractor to measure the first angle. Looking at the table, we know that the first angle should be 40 degrees. So with our protractor, you'll notice that there is a small circle right in the middle. And then it's almost like a sun, and the rays of the sun are all extending out to the lines on the outside. Well, that small circle is what we're going to look at first. In that small semicircle, if you look at a semicircle in the centre, in that small semicircle, there is a line that goes right down to the bottom of it. And that is what we need to match up with the start of our radius line. Okay, so making sure you've matched that up with the start of that line. Once you've matched that up, you need to make sure that the line from the centre of your protractor to the 0 are lined up, and they should be lined up along the line. Perfect. Once you've done that, now you're in a position where you'll be able to read your protractor and use it to help you to complete our pie chart. So you'll look at the space from 0. We're trying to get from 0 to 40 degrees. That means we're looking at the outer circle, like we have shown on screen. So from 0 to 40 degrees, we can see where that is, so we place a mark there. Once you can place the mark there, then you'll be able to draw a line from the center all the way to the edge at that angle. The next angle we need to draw represents the votes for a rabbit, but this angle is 100 degrees, so we're going to need to turn our protractor. Now we've turned our protractor, still making sure that the center of our protractor is in line with the center of our circle, but making sure now that our 0 is sitting on the line that we're going to be starting from, the line that we just drew. Now that we're at 0 there, now we can draw and measure our 100-degree angle. And there we have it. We have our 100-degree angle. That represents the rabbit. Now we need to measure and draw a 70-degree angle to represent the votes for a budgie. Remember, we need to move the protractor onto the line we've just drawn. Still making sure that the center of your protractor is sitting in the center of our circle, but also making sure that the 0 on your protractor, that's not necessarily the start of your protractor, that's the 0 is lined up with the line that we have just drawn. We're looking at the numbers on the outside of our protractor, and we need to make sure, again, we stop at 70 and draw that line at 70. So I usually do a little dot there, a little mark there, then I pick up the protractor and I use the straight edge of the protractor to draw that line going from the center to the outside. Then we can move the protractor to measure the 120-degree angle for the guinea pig votes. Again, doing just the same thing. And then lastly, we have what is left in that space should be 30 degrees. So we can measure that to check. Excellent. We have our 30 degrees. So you have just drawn a pie chart, or you started to at least. So give yourself a pat on the back. Well done. But we're not quite finished yet. We still need to shade the segments and add a title and a key. So here is a title that we could use for our pie chart. And here is a key. You might choose to use different colours, and that's perfectly fine too. Now it's over to you. You were sent this worksheet this morning entitled Class Pet Pie Charts. So I'd like you to have a look at the level which you feel is most appropriate for you. Some of you are not challenging yourselves. So I want you to, whatever level you usually start at, maybe start with going one higher. Give yourself a go. See if you can push yourself a bit more. If you start with level 3, then maybe stick with that, or try the extension task. So I look forward to seeing your work. We all look forward to seeing your work. Remember to email it to us at the email address shown on screen. A big well done to those of you who are continuously submitting work to a high standard. We are super impressed and super pleased. So have a great day. Bye.